Greetings from India. My name is Ribhu Vohra and I'm the co-founder of WasteLess, a small social enterprise educating children about sustainable waste management. Plant for the planet. I'm really impressed with your project and all your initiative from young people around the world, and I'm honored to speak to you today. This is the Pondicherry Municipal Dump Site of Kurumbampet. It's about 10 kilometers from my home, and this is where all the waste ends up from our Pondicherry municipality. Now, everyone in this small town, this small city in India, produces an average of about 500 grams of garbage a day. If you compare it to the average European is producing about 1.3 kilos. The average American, about 2.1 kilos per day, per person. So if we take all the households in the world today, we are producing 50 tons of municipal solid waste every second. That's 50 tons every second. And this, when you are my age, is going to double. And what's scary is that our perception with products are changing. We're using things faster and faster. I spoke to my grandfather. He was a cloth salesman. He was 94 when he died, and he told me he considers a shirt old when it is 10 to 15 years old. If I look at myself, this shirt from my first campaign on waste is now 6 years old, and I consider it old. Just last week, I was asking students, when would they consider a t-shirt old? And they looked at me and said 6 months. So our perception of products is changing. We're using more and more resources, and we're throwing them away faster. We like to look at waste like a leaking tap. Imagine if you left your room this morning and you forgot to turn off the bathroom tap. You return back after a long day at your conference, and you notice when you open the door that everything is flooded. What would you do first? Would you turn off the tap, or would you start mopping? Now, most of us would turn off the tap before we even consider mopping. But if we compare that metaphor to the way our global economy deals with garbage, 90% of the energy, the effort and money goes into mopping. It's the first thing that comes to mind when we think about waste, is putting it in the bin and perhaps recycling. None of us are really looking at our consumption. And if we want to manage this problem, this global challenge sustainably, we have to do both. We have to reduce our consumption, we have to close the tap, and we have to become better at mopping. Now, I made a decision in my life. When I was 29 and my wife was pregnant with my first child, I decided that I was going to follow my passion, follow my heart, and that was in garbage. It was a difficult decision to make, and I sat on the fence for a long time evaluating whether this was something good to do, whether it was giving my family the best stability I could offer them. But in the end, with the support of my wife and my family around me, I decided to jump off the fence. I'm educating children for 4 reasons. 1, you haven't established your behavior yet. You're developing your behavioral patterns, so you can change your behavior faster than adults can. 2, you care about the environment. It's not just a token appreciation, but you're truly passionate about the environment. The older you get, the less you care. 3, you can pester your parents. You can bring positive change home, unlike me. If I talk to your parents, it becomes a confrontation. When you talk to your parents, it becomes positive change. And the 4th reason is that you're inheriting this. You're inheriting the mess we are creating today. I want to tell you a story that helps motivating me to bring about positive change to the world. Now, there's not much positive change to the world of waste, let me tell you that. And there's a lot of failure and a lot of difficulty. But I remember one story, and that's the story from Margaret Thorsborn and Ken Parker. Now, they're 2 environmentalists of the northeast of Australia who are protecting a small island called Hinchinbrook. Now, this island was being developed with condos, and it had all the political support and all the support of the local town. But Margaret and Ken were adamant to stop this illegal development. And part of this illegal development was cutting mangrove forests away to make beaches for these condo houses. This is completely illegal. But in order to get to the island and photograph that evidence, they had to go by boat. And every time Margaret and Ken went by boat, they were stopped by the developers and police. So one day, Margaret decided that she was going to swim across the island, about 5 kilometers, to take pictures. Now, swimming in that part of Australia is pretty much a death wish. There are signs all along the beaches that remind you that you shouldn't go back to the same place in the ocean because there's saltwater crocodiles. Now, as Margaret and Ken got into this water and started swimming, Ken decided that this was a very stupid idea and they should swim back. And Margaret told him to think butterflies, to think only positive thoughts and nothing can affect you. And they both swam across the channel, they took pictures of this illegal activity, and they managed to stop it. Now, the island is protected. So the reason I want to tell you this story is because if you force your mind to think only positive thoughts, only be optimistic, then you are able to change the impossible. I want to leave you with 3 messages for your wonderful summit at Plant for the Planet. The first one is that everything behind me is actually garbage, but it's not. It's a resource. 50% of everything that you see here is actually compostable and could be food for plants in a farm. 35% of all the waste I'm standing on and all the waste that you see is high-value recyclables. That's worth millions of dollars and can provide jobs and opportunities to many people around the world. Only 15% of what you see actually requires final disposal, and this means we need to change our behavior. We need to start reducing waste. 1, we need to start closing the tap, and 2, we need to start mopping better. We need to start separating and recycling more of our waste. The second message I want to leave you with is that the time for action is now. It sounds cliche, but the opportunities exist every day. And I can guarantee you that if you follow your passion and you're sincere about your work, your needs will be met. And it's much better to regret something that you do than look back in time and regret something that you didn't do. And the last message I want to leave you with is that change is possible. And as Margaret said, all you need to do is think butterflies. Thank you, and please waste less.